Hey everyone, Jeff from Lewis Physical Therapy and Sports Rehab here. Today's topic is going to be a little bit more around the kind of nutrition side of things. Again, I mentioned in previous videos, I'm not a nutritionist. I personally have worked with a nutritionist for some other kind of like from a wellness standpoint more than anything. But a lot of the nutrition stuff I'm talking about is more about how it relates to just very general weight management, weight loss, whatever you want to talk about, and how we relate it to training more than anything. So, navigating nutrition while traveling. I felt like this was a good topic to talk about because I just got done traveling this past weekend for a course. Massive flight delays, little sleep, and just a lot of the things that went into that. And I feel like this is a good topic to talk about for someone that is either very, like myself, I'm very routine based. I know the meals I'm going to have roughly around the time of day. My training, I have very routine based supplements and all that. When you get thrown out of your routine, like you have to find a way to keep going. But it's important, again, this first part here is not going in with the mindset of you have to be perfect. Now, listen, there are some people, like if this is their job, like from a physique, strength athlete type things like that, like yes, there is going to be a lot more rigorous planning organization that goes into maintaining proper nutrition and meals from that standpoint. But for just the general public, adults, dads like myself, this is some important information I feel needs to be talked about more than, because in today's culture, everyone just feels like you have to be, social media portrays you got to be perfect. If you fall off on just one meal, your progress is going to be ruined and whatnot. And again, I've said this in previous videos, we don't like to live in social media world. We like to live in reality more than anything. So avoiding perfection. If you go into traveling, say you're going away for a weekend or vacation or whatnot, you're like, I'm going to maintain my exact routine. It's going to be perfect. I'm not going to fall out of routine and whatnot. In my opinion, you are setting yourself up for failure, because that is just not going to be the case. Perfect example. I was in the airport this past Friday. My flight was delayed 7 hours, and I just had to kind of find, okay, well, I got to find some airport food. And, was it great? No, it was a steak sandwich with fries and a salad and whatnot. But again, I don't typically have that. So it's kind of one of those things where you have to go into it with the mindset of there are going to be things that are out of routine. It does not mean your progress from a long-term standpoint, maybe short-term is a little thrown off, from a long-term standpoint is not thrown off. And that brings me to my next point here of choosing whole foods as often as possible. Notice how I said not all the time, but whenever you can, finding time to get whole foods into your diet, whether that is eggs, meat, veggies, salad, whatever that might be, just finding ways to continue to get that into your diet and minimizing the processed side of things. Listen, there's going to be times when you're traveling, you're going to eat some processed stuff. Even this past weekend, I can think of 2 meals where I had fries. I don't always do that, but you know what? Wanted to have some fries, so I had fries. So that's the biggest thing there, is you want to find some kind of trade-offs and takeaways. Not the cheat meal type of stuff, but just, hey, you know what? You might have some stuff you maybe normally wouldn't eat from that standpoint. I think the biggest thing, though, is limiting alcohol. I think that's where a lot of the traveling side of things goes down. Now, listen, if you're traveling, it's part of your work, being out in those environments and whatnot, and you do just enjoy a couple of drinks, sure, have that. But try to just minimize excessively going in, excessive alcohol intake from that standpoint. I'm not saying from the point of drunk or anything like that, but just being mindful of limiting overall alcohol intake, because that will play a role in terms of that kind of very quickly spiking up of weight gain, your impact on your sleep, your impact on your training, all of which we know has a negative effect on fat loss. And then this is the part here that I think is really important, is it's very easy when you're traveling to snack a lot. It's okay to have some snacks. Even in my regular diet, I have some snacks, but really try to prioritize getting 3, maybe 4 meals a day, like good meals. And again, it's not going to always be perfect, but just getting meals in you more than anything. This next part here is just staying as active or close to your normal routine as possible. We've all stayed in hotels that have just god-awful fitness routines, fitness centers more than anything. And you know what? If you can't do barbell stuff there, then so be it. The options there are, hey, if you're going to just do some body weight circuits like yesterday, I did kind of like a mini Murph type of thing where I just did 10 rounds of 5 pull-ups, 15 push-ups, 20 body weight squats. Was it the hardest workout ever? No. But did it get me moving and feeling good? Yes. Because especially like when you're traveling and you're sitting a lot, things naturally get tight and stiffened up. And from a cardio standpoint, just go down the treadmill and just walk. Go for a 30-minute walk each morning and whatnot. That alone will be great from that standpoint of just keeping a little bit of some very low-level aerobic work in there and just helping maintain body fat levels in a good spot as best as you can. Again, it's not going to fix everything and completely negate the effect if you have a couple things outside your normal routine, but it's going to put you in a better position for when you get back to your normal routine versus if you don't. Prioritizing sleep. This is a very tough thing to do. Again, like I mentioned, I was delayed 7 hours and whatnot. I didn't get to bed till 2:30. I had to be up at 6:30 for a course. So it's kind of, it is what it is. You do what you can. If you have really poor sleep, I maybe just have to really dial in these areas a little bit more. Sleep alone is going to be a big part of fat loss for a lot of people. It's very well known that if you have really poor sleeping patterns, you typically tend to hold on to a little bit more weight, or it's hard for you to lose weight from that standpoint. So prioritizing sleep as best you can on your normal schedule is really the best thing that you could do. And the last thing here, I like to call it scale shock. I even the first day back, I had the same thing. You travel, you eat about, you're eating, drinking, whatever you want to call it and whatnot, and you step on the scale that first day and you look down, you're like, wow, just that shock of, boy, I did not expect that number to be like that right there. That is not uncommon. Traveling alone, you're going to naturally retain water a lot more. You're going to just be a little more, maybe, there's going to be pieces of that in terms of the travel itself, not having good sleep. Your meals are a little bit out of ordinary or out of your normal routine. That's going to happen. So the goal more than anything is, one, if you can just wait a couple days before you get back on the scale, that'd be ideal. But if you do get on the scale that first day, just to kind of see where you're at, just don't let that kind of freak you out more than anything. I'll have another video on this of like how to get back to training after traveling, things like that. But don't let see that number be like, okay, I have to really ramp it up right now this week to get back to where I was to a degree. I think that's one of the biggest mistakes that I've been guilty of making, and a lot of people make, is they say, okay, you know what? I've normally been doing 2 mile runs, let me ramp it up to 4 miles or 5 miles or whatnot. Because then that is where we start to see you're kind of, the good saying is you're kind of burning the candle at both ends with a blowtorch in the middle more than anything. So I'll have another video on that there. But again, these are just really from kind of personally and anecdotally some just general things that I've found to help from a traveling standpoint. Some of this is inevitable. Again, if you're just a general population, adult, dad, whatever you want to be, like, do not go into this expecting to be perfect. I think if anything, that just sets you up for failure more often than not, because we just don't get in our normal routine a lot of times, and that's okay. We have time to get back on the horse. We're going to look at it from a long-term, kind of like a macro versus a micro level more than anything. So you have questions on this type of stuff, or just your experience with how you navigate nutrition yourself when you're traveling, drop them below in the comment section, or subscribe to our channel for more content like this.